freaking first cut. Golly.
Welcome to the First Cut Podcast. I'm Rick Gehman, and this is your DFS preview for this week's AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am. We will talk the courses, we will talk the players, and we will do it all with Greg DuCharme. Hello, Greg.
I am fired up to do this, Rick. Hey, I heard something really cool. I'm really excited about this week. You said the courses.
Yes.
We got Pebble Beach and Spyglass Hill.
Yes.
Now, I typically don't like multiple golf courses because there's no ShotLink on one of them or two of them. Drives me nuts. There's ShotLink at Spyglass this week, I heard, which is awesome.
First time ever. So they're calling it ShotLink Pro, Greg, which I don't know if that is. When I read about it, it seems like the same exact system, the same calculations, the same everything, but they're going to have it basically running two courses at once. So maybe that's the pro portion of it. But I don't know if you remember this. I want to say it was last year. Maybe it was the year before.
I do remember this.
They tested a ShotLink Lite, for example. I forget what they call it, but it was like a little beeper that went on the back of the belt, and they tried it out on the Corn Ferry Tour, and that was, accurate within a yard and all this other stuff. So they've been. I don't think that's what this is. I think this is truly a completely second ShotLink setup for Spyglass,
which is cool. Again, I don't necessarily care how they do it. I think it's a really cool thing. I don't know if it has any impact on your traditional golf fan, but if you're playing DFS or you're playing PGA Tour fantasy golf and you're at work on Thursday morning, you want to, I got buddies of mine who are not golfers who are following this stuff closely, and they're hitting the ShotLink pretty hard.
Yeah.
So I think it's an important thing. I don't know if it improves the product over the weekend. I don't know if it has anything to do with the broadcast, but I do think in time, if they're able to do this for every course, it will make a big difference in our analysis for our purposes.
Well, yeah. And it is by far the best statistical information that we have for golfers. Strokes gained approach is infinitely better than greens and regulation. And, strokes gained off the tee is infinitely better than driving distance or driving accuracy. They are all obviously different. They all have their own pros and cons, but to me, there's a pretty big gap to the strokes gain metrics, which are now hopefully going to be available everywhere. You don't want your best stat to only be available 80% of the time.
Yes, which it's probably available more often
more than that. Yeah.
But it's nice when you got all the shots accounted for. Right. It's nice to be able to go back and look and say, oh, you know what, he lost 3 strokes on approach, but hit 2 in the water on 1 hole. I think we're going to see something better tomorrow. I like that aspect. So you can get into the finer details, see how players at Spyglass this week actually shoot the score that they shoot. So I'm looking forward to it.
The other thing, so this event has been around forever. It's been a Pro-Am forever, but this is now just the second year that it is a signature event. So when we talk about history for this event, a lot of the history that we're going to talk about is going to be the full field events that had a 3-course rotation, a 54-hole cut, and then everybody going back to Pebble Beach for the weekend. We might also talk about the U.S. Open that was hosted here in 2019.
Correct.
Thank you. And now this is the second year, though, where we're getting a smaller field, 80 golfers. All of them are going to make the cut, and they're only going to do the 2-course rotation, Pebble Beach, Spyglass, no cut, Pebble Beach on the weekend. So there is a little bit of a difference this week, Greg, than we've seen for a lot of other events held at Pebble Beach.
The amateur portion also only the first 2 days. So the weekend will be just the pros, all of whom will make the cut. Another important caveat there, there's no cut. So I think this is a really nice attribute. You still get Pebble. You still get the amateurs involved. There, so it maintains the Pro-Am status. I still think that's important to the PGA Tour. But you get Spyglass and Pebble, which are, you can make an argument that Spyglass is a harder golf course than Pebble Beach. So it's a stout test. It's not a throwaway round, just course to play. This is a really good golf course that definitely presents a significant challenge. So I'm looking forward to that aspect. And, Spyglass is a little longer than Pebble, although they're similar. They're both par 72, right around 7,000 yards. A little longer for Spyglass, a little shorter for Pebble. Tiny greens at Pebble Beach.
Yeah,
that's probably the key staple, especially this week where there's really projections of extremely light wind. So the small greens will be the story.
Yeah, so the most recognizable golf course, or at least one of them in the world, Pebble Beach, known for a lot of things, and it's a kind of an extreme golf course in terms of the way that it lays out, the way that it's on the scorecard. I've got the scorecard up on screen right now if you're watching on YouTube. That par 72, Greg, is going to play to 6,900 yards. One of the shortest courses that we're going to get on the schedule. You mentioned the greens, about 3,500 square feet on average. Those are the smallest on the schedule. There are not a lot of holes in which you are required or encouraged or incentivized to hit driver. You'll see that the average drive distance for this golf course is usually one of the lowest on the tour schedule. A lot of guys come in from similar positions, and it's almost shocking. Like, until you actually realize how small 3,500 square feet is, it is like shockingly small for green surfaces, and then obviously well protected with rough and bunkers abound.
Yes, and it makes them look. It does actually, in a way, make greens of regulation pretty important, because hitting the ball on the green means you're going to have a pretty good look at birdie. And some of these greens even play smaller, the way they're mounded, and with some of the edges. Like I think of number 11, which has this sliver of a green, and the slopes come off both the bunkers on the front and back in the left portion. So it's just this tiny area where you can put a hole location, and it makes for some really interesting wedge shots, especially when it gets windy. It gets very difficult. We're not going to have that this week. So a big emphasis on wedge play. A significant number of shots come from 100 to 125 yards. Not a heavily utilized area on the PGA Tour. So I'll be paying attention to who some of the better players are in that area. I think it explains some of the course history. When you look at that area and course history, I think course history is important here, more so than many other venues. So it's definitely, especially early in the season, it's definitely something I'm paying attention to.
I was going to ask you about course history. I'm glad you touched on that. I'm also going to point out, I've got all these notes here I want to make sure I get to before we dive into this field. Wyndham Clark won this event last year. However, it was only played over 54 holes. If you remember, Greg, and I'm sure you do, but for those who are listening and watching who don't remember, they got 3 rounds done, and then the rain never stopped. They were willing to move it to Monday, and then they're like, "Oh, can we really do this on a Tuesday?" And it just became too much. The forecast was horrible. So they did crown a champion after 54 holes. So when you go back and look at some of the history, you might see golfers that have played here for 2 years and have like 7 rounds. Like, what the heck is going on? Last year they only played three rounds.
Yes. And that's always a strange thing. It's certainly nothing against Wyndham Clark, but that 60, if that was on a Sunday, it would have been one of the rounds of the, in the history of the game, right? A really impressive round. And it was even for a Saturday. He didn't know that it was to win. That's right. The problem. So, does that change anything? You go play great, and then, oh, actually you won. Oh, that's awesome. That's lovely. There's nothing else you could do about it. So there's no one certainly to blame there. But we were set up for a really strong finish last year. You had Matthew Pavone coming off his win at the Farmers in the mix again. You had Ludwig Oberg in the mix again. It was a really strong leaderboard piling up behind Wyndham Clark. And it would have been a phenomenal final round. Scottie Scheffler finished tied 6th last year as well. He'll be back this week. So I think there's a lot to get into, and I think we're going to have a much better experience as far as weather is concerned this year at Pebble, especially with those greens. If you remember last year, those greens were spinning like crazy. And everything was about, how do I get the ball to not spin back uncontrollably? There are some greens at Pebble where it's really difficult to do that every year. But last year was an extreme example. So should be a much more traditional look at Pebble Beach and Spyglass Hill.
Well, 2025 Pebble Beach Pro-Am is on deck here, and we've got some of the best players in the world. We're going to jump into the cheat sheet and start naming some names. But first, we're going to take a quick break and hear a word from our partners.
The clock never stops. Relive the greatest moments with uninterrupted highlights and more. It's Gareth Bale! Ronaldo! Wonderful goal! On the UEFA Champions League channel. Streaming free.
And we're back. All right, here it is, Greg. The cheat sheet on my website, rickrungood.com. Only 3 golfers in the $10,000 range, and we've got a very big fish at the top that we need to talk about. His name is Scottie Scheffler, 11,900. Rory McIlroy, 10-7. Colin Morikawa, 10-2. Let's start with Scottie. This is his first start since the Hero World Challenge. He had the laceration on the right hand that took place on Christmas Day and has been kept out of competitive golf since then. How do we reconcile the best player in the world who has been unstoppable, who has been sidelined by injury in a very important area when it comes to swinging a golf club?
Before I share my thoughts, how do you think the industry will respond? Because he's priced significant. I mean, he's at 11.9. Significantly higher price than Rory McIlroy.
My hunch is that he will be. There's a floor for he's going to be popular, but he will not be as popular. I think people will want to see something first. So that means if I could be in an alternate timeline and he didn't have the hand injury, maybe this week he would have been 32% owned, and now he's going to be 23% owned, right? I think that there is I do think that there are people with Colin Morikawa, with Justin Thomas, with Hideki Matsuyama, with Ludwig, with all these other stars. I think they're going to want to see something.
So I think that is a great opportunity to take advantage of that. Now, in PGA Tour fantasy, where you only get 3 starts with a player per segment, I'm going to wait this one out, right? If you're limited in the number of times you can use Scottie going forward, this may not be the best time to use him. But in DraftKings, in any price consideration game that you're dealing with, I'm gonna go ahead and play him. I have a feeling when you look at the way that he plays, how simple it is, that this is going to be rinse and repeat. Go out there, play a couple of rounds, hit a couple of balls. Now that you're healed, and things start looking pretty darn good. I'm excited to see how the claw works. I just feel like his tee to green play is too good to ignore, and when you have conditions like this where you're going to be able to score, Scottie's going to make a ton of birdies. You look at that 100 to 125 range. He was the best on tour and the best in this field. He's a phenomenal wedge player. The best player with an iron in his hand, period. On small greens like this, I trust it. I'm taking a chance. There's nobody I feel more confident in taking a chance in. Usually you're not walking out on a limb, but if there's any drop in popularity, Scottie's the go-to guy.
I don't think he rushed back. I think he waited till he was ready to rock and roll. I think the fact that you get 4 guaranteed rounds, so even if he does start off a little bit slow, still an opportunity for him to get back at it, and everything else, like you said, Greg. Quite honestly, if you just look at it from a statistical standpoint, he has been far and away the best player in the world. If he is like 80% of what he has done over the last 2 years, he will still contend in this golf tournament, and he's the only person you can say that about. So I really don't have any issues with it. If I get burned because Scottie doesn't play well and finishes T29, like, okay, we'll just go right back to him next week.
Play him again next week.
Yeah.
Right. Is that burned T29? That burned would be the BMW championship last year.
Wow.
Where he just played horrible.
Finished T33. That was, similar size
out of 50.
Oh, 50. That's right. It's 50.
Yeah. It used to be 70.
Yeah.
I'm rolling with Scottie. I think he's going to be pretty darn excited to play.
The other two are Rory McIlroy and Collin Morikawa. Rory played well in his Middle East swing. He got the victory at the DP World Tour Championship. He finished T4 in Dubai, T3 in Abu Dhabi. Collin has been knocking on the door of victory for basically the last year. Hasn't quite gotten over the hump there yet. So what about these two and how they set up for Pebble Beach specifically?
If you're against going Scottie, if you're worried about Scottie or you're just tired of it and you want to play somebody else, I think I'd go with Collin over Rory, as strange as that sounds. Rory finished tied 9th in the U.S. Open here. His record, other than that, it's limited, but he doesn't have any other good finishes. A couple of missed cuts, in fact, now, albeit it's a long time ago. So Collin has just been so consistent and so steady through the bag. It looks like he's putting on a serious charge to try to catch Scottie Scheffler. Now he's got to win first in order to do that, but the consistency that he's shown through the bag in his performance, it makes perfect sense that Collin would show up to Pebble Beach and play pretty darn well.
Is it safe to say? So again, Rory played this event last year, T66, and you mentioned his U.S. Open, which was 2019. What did he finish? T9?
Yes.
Okay. Is it safe to say that for Rory McIlroy, his greatest strength is a little bit negated this week? He's the best driver on the planet. I don't know if this golf course lets you air it out as much as he would like. Is that a safe assessment or not?
Yes, it is. But here's the caveat to that. Let's go back to that U.S. Open in 2019. Gary Woodland wins. Brooks Koepka finishes second. John Rahm finishes third. You got Ches Reavie, but then Justin Rose, who, remember, in 2018 was the best player in the world and won the FedEx Cup.
Yeah.
Great driver of the ball. Xander Schauffele, Louis Oosthuizen, Adam Scott, and then Rory McIlroy tied 9th. Henrik Stenson tied 9th. Chesson Hadley. All these guys that are the top 11 players in this field, with the exception of Hadley and Reavie, are really long and great drivers of the golf ball. So it doesn't rule you out, but I do think that it limits your greatest asset, which, it brings a lot of other players to the competition. Where I think Scottie Scheffler and Collin Morikawa excel in the area that this golf course asks for and demands, which is short iron play, precision, accuracy. That's their game, and it fits perfectly here. So that's why those two guys would be my preference over Rory.
Yeah, and Rory can make any golf course, look silly, but I do think that if we're kind of breaking it down a little bit, small minus to Rory, definitely a little bit of a plus to those other two. The $9,000 range here, there's 7 golfers, Greg. Ludwig Oberg back, $99, $100. Justin Thomas, $98. The hottest golfer in 2025, Hideki Matsuyama, Patrick Cantlay, Sam Burns, Tommy Fleetwood, and we rounded out with Sungjae Im. Obviously, it is a signature event, so there are a lot of great players.
Yes, and it gets difficult because this range looks really strong. So now I'm going to take Ludwig. I think he's priced a little too high considering the sickness. How much time is he going to be able to prep? How much time is he just simply recovering? I almost can't believe that he played the last 2 rounds at Torrey. I know he was in contention and should have, you'd want to try, but that had to take a lot out of him. So when you have Colin Morikawa just above you, Justin Thomas and Hideki Matsuyama just below you, it's really hard for me to find a place for Ludwig, even though he was in a good position to win this tournament last year. I love Justin Thomas. I love where Justin Thomas is with his game. This, again, I think it fits into his strengths, takes driver out of his hands to some degree, which I think is great for him. Puts wedges in his hands a lot. He makes a lot of birdies when he hits a lot of wedges. I love that aspect for JT. So he's definitely on my play card this week. Patrick Cantlay.
Yeah. That was the one name that I was really curious with. So we've talked about this before, but there are some websites out there that allow you to kind of see what the one and done ownership is going to be before, so it shows you for the entire site. It's not necessarily for any league, but it just shows you the way picks are coming in. As of right now, Patrick Cantlay is the most popular one and done selection for this week. Pretty significantly, about 22%, Justin Thomas about 14%. So people are looking at this profile, Greg, and they're saying, okay, T15 at the Century, T5 at the American Express. His history around here is very, very good. There seems to be a little bit of a bull run on Patrick Cantlay at the moment.
If ownership follows on DraftKings or wherever you're playing this, it's not always perfect. It doesn't always, because on DraftKings there's a salary cap and all that stuff, and people want to save Scottie, they want to save, so it doesn't always. But I just wanted to point out that one and done number. Yeah, it's an important caveat, because I'm thinking, well, Patrick Cantlay hasn't really been getting a lot of attention lately, so maybe people are sleeping on him because he hasn't been on the first page of leaderboards. You haven't been seeing him really right there in the mix. People think sometimes there's something wrong. I don't think there's been anything wrong. I think Patrick Cantlay just hasn't quite caught fire yet. And his weak golf is tied 5th. And now you come to a place where he's finished tied 11th, tied 4th, tied 3rd, tied 11th. As another top 10 back in 2013. I love his record here. I think that goes a long way. Also, if there's an area of weakness in Patrick Cantlay's game, statistically, it'd be the iron play. But in that area, 100 to 125, he's in the top 10 in this field. So he is a very good wedge player. I think that's why he's played so well here. So I like that, although I would watch ownership, because Hideki is a very good wedge player too. And pivoting to Hideki, if you get a break in ownership, sounds like a deal that I'd take. Would you take that deal?
I would take that deal. Yes, for sure. I would take that deal significantly. Now, I don't think, though, I have a feeling that Cantlay will be way more popular in one and done than he is in DFS purposes. I think people look at the signature event, an early signature event. There's still a lot of major championships to go. It's almost like, who's the best player that I'm willing to burn right now? And people are, I think there's a little bit of concern about Scottie. You save Rory. You don't necessarily need to use Colin or anybody. I think that for DFS purposes, what you laid out is, I think there's going to be a lot of Colin JT starts or Colin Hideki starts. Cantlay might be the 3rd most popular option in the 9K range, which doesn't lead to him being super popular, is my opinion on that.
So in that case, I'd really like it. I'd play him right up there with Justin Thomas. I'd play Hideki. There's probably one other guy I'd play in this range.
Who is it?
It may have changed since I looked at the weather, because I had thought there was a potential there was going to be some tough weather days. Doesn't look like that's the case. But Tommy Fleetwood Boy, this is a strong looking profile.
Yeah. So if you, let me pat myself on the back a little bit. If you're only looking at Tommy's PGA Tour numbers, you have missed like the last 7 starts that he has made.
Yeah.
He went over the DP World Tour and he has been on fire. 3 straight top 6 finishes at the Spanish Open, the Alfred Dunhill Links in Abu Dhabi, played well enough in Dubai, just lost a couple of strokes with the putter. I'm with you here. Like Tommy's $9,000 or $9,100. I don't think anybody remembers the last time they saw him play. And there's a lot of other good options in the 9K range, including Sung Jae Im and then the top of the 8s. I'm rolling with Tommy this week.
And I think he's just straight up flushing it right now, which could be fun. It could be really fun. It could be a great week for him. So yeah, he would be maybe that's a smart play. I don't mind a Scottie Tommy kind of top 2. It's really strong and is probably going to get overlooked by some people.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to be very popular at all. And I do like that. So let me think here. So Scottie and then Tommy. Yeah. I think the most common first 2 clicks it'll be like Colin JT, then it'll be Scottie JT, then it'll be Colin
Cantlay.
Yeah, I was thinking or Colin Hideki, but I don't know about that. Yeah, I don't know. I'm pretty confident in the first 2. I kind of fell off the tracks after. I don't know what the third one's going to be.
Scottie Tommy could be the play.
I like Scottie Tommy a lot.
Oh man. So there's 4 guys. You could play JT, Hideki, Cantlay, or Tommy. I'm in on any of those guys. But Tommy's the sneaky one.
Well, guess what? There are a lot more great options in the 8K range and the 7K range. And then there are some kind of crappy options in the 6K, but we'll talk about those too. But first, we're going to take a quick break and hear a word from our partners. And we're back. Here's the 8K range. 11 golfers, Greg, and there's a lot to discuss. Jason Day, 8,900. Victor Hovland, Corey Connors, defending champion Wyndham Clark, making his TGL debut tonight. Keegan Bradley, 85. Will Zalatoris, Taylor Pendrith, Tony Finau, and then we round out the bottom of this range with Maverick McNeely, Sepp Straka, and Shane Lowry. Oh my goodness. How do you want to start assessing this group of golfers?
It's very strong, very strong. So it's almost one of those situations where they're all playable.
It's almost too strong, Greg.
Yes, almost too strong. So let's just start right up at the top. Jason Day. I mean, this could be that 8K chalk for sure, but I just love the way that he's hitting the ball right now. Am I falling into a trap thinking that he's going to fix the putter?
No one has the record at Pebble Beach as Jason Day. This goes back almost 20 years.
Yeah.
And it is a non-stop top 10 finish. Just
tied 6th, tied 24th, tied 7th, 4th, tied 21st, tied 4th, tied 2nd, tied 5th, tied 11th, tied 4th. I mean, it goes on and on like that. You know, there are 3 more top 10s that I didn't read there.
Here's the problem, right? The start of 2025, he has been miserable. And that is very nice way to put it. He has been miserable on the putting surfaces. He is historically a great putter. So we are between a rock and a hard place. What is going to break first? This stellar tee to green play that we've seen from him, the course history, the fact that he's been missing it. Like, what breaks first here, Greg?
Rick, this is the hard place. Because I love what I'm seeing. And I'm very curious what can he do if he's putting poorly. is tied 32nd at the Farmers last week the best he can do? Could he have squeezed if he putts poorly again this week, can he finish tied 12th? He always putts well here.
Yeah, the price is such a better field, though. Smaller field, obviously, but a better field. That's a good question. I don't know his floor is pretty high here. He finished, I know this is not the same and it's only 2 measured rounds, but he was a losing putter in 2017. He finished T5. He never putts poorly here, ever. 7
in a row, including the U.S. Open. He's gained strokes with the putter. I think I'm rolling with it, Rick.
Me too.
He's swinging great. He's healthy. And he's going to fix this issue that he's having on the greens. He's going to fix it. So I'm rolling with that. I got another question for you. Keegan Bradley, are we worried about the travel from Florida out west?
So Josh and I were just talking about this. So I guess they're flying there Monday night. They're just going to leave right after TGL, probably. Hop Rory's playing. And
Rory, yeah. Head out there.
And be there first thing Tuesday morning. In that case, probably not worried about it. No.
Probably fine.
He gets his full day of practice on Tuesday. Maybe plays 9 on Tuesday, whatever he wants on Wednesday. I think it's okay.
4 straight top 15 finishes for Keegan Bradley.
Yeah.
He's been rock solid all the way across the board. He's a strong wedge player as well. He has a good record here as well. Everything's top 15. Tied 11th, miscut, tied 15th. Miscut was at the U.S. Open.
You know what else I like is he was very bad to start the Sony Open and still finished T6, right? He made a mess early. He salvaged the first round and then he played great the rest of the way. I love that, right? That's it. First off, I'll make a big stink out of it, but that's a captain. Okay. That's a guy who leads by example. That's a guy you want on your squad. That's a guy who, he's going to go to battle for you. He's not just going to say, I'm 3 over through 6. I better just pack it in and go home early.
No, and what it's a sign of, Rick, is he's not 3 over through 6 because he's playing poorly. He's 3 over through 6 because he got a couple bad breaks. His caddy gave him a bad read. Whatever that situation is, and he knows that he's playing better than that. So he knows he can come back, and he does because he's playing the best golf of his life. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if Keegan Bradley won this week.
You know who I'm kind of interested in? Sepp Straka. So we've spent all of 2025 just staring at these unbelievable approach numbers. And then he wins at the American Express. So he gets the week to kind of recalibrate and everything. Finished T26 here last year. He's playing better golf now. Keep it in the fairway, hit solid second shots, putt well. I see a path for Sepp to continue to play well.
Yep, I do too. But again, there's so many guys. So by rule, he doesn't make my list. He won his last start.
Well, okay. So the short list. So the short list in the 9K or in the 8K range is who then? It's Keegan, Jason Day.
Yeah, and then I would add in there. I got a couple to add in. 2 more guys. Mm-hmm. McNeely plays great here as well.
Well, he's probably played this course more than anybody, right?
Right. So he may be too popular in that 8K chalk zone. We'll see. I have a feeling he won't be given the strength of this field. But I love what he's done with his iron play. And even though he finished tied 52nd at the Farmers last week, still gained 2 shots with his irons. I think the direction he's going in is really strong. And what I'm seeing out of Shane Lowry, he missed the cut last week at the Farmers, but actually gained strokes total.
Yeah, he was on the wrong side of it, right?
Yes. His iron play has been spectacular. His driving's been spectacular. I really like Shane Lowry at 8,000 flat as well.
Okay, that's probably like my favorite one. What you just said, the Shane Lowry stuff. He's been so good. It was a very drastic situation to have the North Course play equal to the South Course on Thursday.
Yeah,
was round
yeah.
two. Those guys got hosed.
Yes. I mean, I think there were 2 guys in the top 10 last week, which was like 14 players that started south north.
Right. So Shane Lowry beats the field on both days and goes home.
Yeah.
Tough life.
Yeah. Brutal.
I like that one a lot. Okay, wait, I'm going to favorite his name before I forget. Okay, the $7,000 range. And if you thought we were done having very interesting conversations, not even close. Let's just start with the man at the top of this list here. It's Jordan Spieth. Jordan Spieth has not teed it up in a competitive round of golf since the FedEx St. Jude Championship. That was in mid-August. He has then since received surgery on the wrist. We talked about this a lot last year, Greg, but we probably need to re-up this conversation a little bit. He had one of the best driving years of his career in 2024, and the parts that were best about his game left him. Oh, by the way, he is going to make his return at, I don't want to say the best golf course for him, but there's like the holy trinity. It's like here, Colonial and Augusta National, the win, the other podiums, the other top 10s. Like, what are you going to do with Jordan Spieth?
Root for him, wait and see, and not play him this week.
Now, coward.
That being said, I think the surgery for Jordan Spieth could be a great thing. I don't know. I don't know what we're going to get out of him this week. There could be some competitive rust. I get the sense where we said Scottie keeps things so simple. Jordan doesn't. I feel like Jordan needs to practice and feel like he's put in the work in order to play well. And I don't know if he's been able to do that. You don't know what he's changed. I think it could be a great thing for him long term, though. I really, he made a comment that this happened in 2018 for the first time. And then it didn't happen for a while. And I'm like, has he been worried about that for all the years of struggle?
Could you
He won his last major in 2017. Because it's been subconsciously bothering him or preventing him from doing something he wanted to in his swing. Maddening to think about.
Only if that's true, like only Jordan Spieth would that happen to.
And it's very unlikely. So if you're rolling your eyes at me, I understand. But it's in my mind. So I'm in a wait and see place with Jordan. I hope he surprises me. I hope he proves me wrong. But I'm going to give him at least a week before I consider him.
Okay. Well, I'm not. I'm here.
You're
baby.
Going in.
Yes, he's $1,100 cheaper than he's ever been at Pebble Beach. If there was ever a place for him to just click it right on into gear, it is here. I am in.
You get 4 rounds.
You get 4 rounds.
But you're going to take him over Russell Henley?
Yeah. Also, I don't really have to choose, right? I can play 2 guys at $7,900.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
So Russ is also here. Tom Kim, Max Grazerman. The middle of the range is like Rasmus Højgaard, Harris English, who won last week. The bottom of the range, Min Woo Lee, Denny McCarthy, Cam Davis. What other names? Is Russ Henley the name that stood out to you here most?
No.
Okay.
No. You could play him, but Adam Scott stands out to me. He's at 7,600. I liked him more than any of the guys at the top of the range. DP World Tour Championship finished tied 3rd, tied 15th at the Century, tied 37th last week in Dubai, but he's hitting his irons really well. Really well. So I love what Adam Scott has going on there. I think his swing is in great form. He finished tied 7th at the U.S. Open here and finished tied 20th last year as well, and hit it great. So I'm in a positive spot with Adam Scott. I'm in a positive spot with Bo Hostler, who I typically don't like.
Oh, this is the spot for him.
This is the spot for him, and his play has been backing it up. I mean, the 2 events he's played this year, tied 12th and it tied 15th. He's been pretty good all the way across the board in both of those events. And like you said, he's got a great record here.
Yeah. T14, T11, third. Hasn't missed a cut in his last 5 trips. Won't have to worry about that this week, but just to show you how well he's been playing. And then he missed the cut to start the fall in Napa, and the rest of it's been quite good.
Awesome.
So Bo Hostler is rocking and rolling.
In on that. Could be a Thomas Dietrich kind of week.
Oh. How much is Tom? Here you go. I got him. 7,400.
7,400. I don't love playing him. I think he leans a little too much on short game and putting sometimes. But he's a good driver of the ball, and he seems to play well on the West Coast in general. Even better than his results will indicate. But he did finish tied 4th here last year, tied 37th the year before. So could be a good spot for him. Coming off a tied 15th at the Farmers, I think he's in pretty good form and could be on the sneaky side.
Pretty good, Greg. That was a lot. That's a lot better than I thought. I was thinking of kind of this run right. He's gotten a lot better the last handful of starts.
Yeah, he's playing great. He struggled for a while, and I have my concerns with him. But if I'm going with Thomas or Cantlay and Day and Keegan, I'm okay with mixing in a sneaky 7K guy.
Yeah, you have to. Okay, what else you got?
Tom Hoge.
Oof, sure, why not? Right, it was one here before. Great wedge player, can get it hot with the putter. If you see a proximity bucket where Scottie Scheffler's second, it's probably Tom Hoge who's first. Yeah, that's true.
The driver seems to be the weakness in his game, and I think he knows how to get it around here. So it goes directly to his strengths. And he's been putting well. The last 3 weeks, he's gained strokes with the putter. It's a good sign for Hoge.
So the thing that I like about Hoge, so there's like a lot of different ways that courses set up for guys. Rory, maybe it's a small negative because his best asset is not able to be unleashed, for example. I think that Hoge is kind of a 2-part thing. Not only is the worst part of his game, the driver, not as important, but the best part of his game, that like wedge play, is enhanced.
More important.
Yeah. So he almost gets like a 2-fold course fit on paper. And then not just on paper, he does it. He goes out and does it. He fit, last 4 years, 12th win, T48, T6. So yes, I think Hoge is absolutely in play.
Yeah, I love the guy, and I love when I get a chance to play him. He's a little tricky because he always looks so good in approach, which just draws me like a fly to a light. I get sucked into that kind of thing. I got to temper myself with Hoge. But this week, I don't think you have to. I think you go right in.
Isn't it crazy to see? Not that I really want to play either of them, but Cam Young and Matt Fitzpatrick are both $7,100, which is nearly the bottom of this. That is just shocking to me.
Yeah, it's too bad. I think for good reason.
Yeah. It is. It's not well. It's deserved. It's definitely deserved, but just
Fitzpatrick could probably be a little. He could probably be a little higher, but
I don't know,
I'm probably not playing him anyway. There is one more guy in this range that I'm pretty interested in.
Okay.
Danny McCarthy.
Yeah. You know what? I was not interested in him, Greg. And then I ran I did my first run of, some models, some things that I liked, and he scored so highly in the models that I ran.
Yeah. He's not known for his ball striking. He can hit it very well, but I think this course sets you up in those areas where it's areas of strength. So if you lump iron play all together, it may be a weakness for him, but he's a lot better in the shorter wedge shots than he is with his total iron game. I think that bodes really well for him.
Yeah, that's a good call.
A ton of birdies out here as well.
It's funny, but because then the worst shot we've ever seen him hit was like a perfect wedge number.
Yeah, I
in
know.
a playoff against.
I know that was after. It's the classic post 7 birdie in a row mess up.
Yeah, I do. Every time I post 7 birdies in a row, I mess up my next shot.
Yeah, I chunked my next wedge.
Let's keep going. Let's go down to the sixes. So I think, and I said this in my like my Rick Run Good preview earlier, I think this is finally where we get like a tangible drop off. You know, where we were just talking about guys in the 7K range, like Hoagie, who have won this event, like Denny McCarthy, like Harris English, who won last week. And now we are getting.
Yeah. We didn't even mention Nick Taylor.
Yeah, I mean, there was a
here and a couple weeks ago.
Correct. Right. So a lot of really good options. Here's where I do think we get the tangible drop off. I think there's one guy that I think is kind of mispriced, but I'm not super excited about anything. I've got like 2.5 guys here that I think I could run with.
I think there's definitely a mispriced guy.
Who is it?
Well, it's great news. It's great news. It's Lee Hodges.
Oh, okay. That's not the same guy that I thought.
Lee Hodges is 6,200.
Okay.
He finished tied 9th at the Farmers, tied 34th at the American Express.
Ah, crap.
This tied 10th at the Sony.
Yeah, this is
tied good. 5th at the RSM. Gained an approach, you know, basically since the Sanderson Farms. He's gained over 5 strokes putting 2 of his last 3 weeks. You don't need distance here. He's playing great golf.
He is. I can't deny it.
He's 6,200.
I can't deny it any longer. He's got 4 top 16s in his last 5. His worst finish was the T34, and the stat profile looks good. I hate it. But yeah, no, you're right. He's $6,200, $200 more than the minimum price.
The only reason he finished tied 34th at the American Express is because I had a Lee Hodges top 20 in the American Express.
So if you stay away from him in that scenario, we'll all be good this week.
I think I don't need to stay away from him this week. I think that curse has been lifted. And I think he's just going to roll on and play great. He's 6,200. Like he unlocks Scottie for you.
Okay.
Do you want to go that way?
So this is now good news. So I'll tell you who else you could unlock and tell me what you think. Lucas Glover was the guy that I thought was mispriced. I am not a Lucas Glover guy. I am not. I rarely play him. I am not. However, this is a golf course where playing out of the fairway is key. Hit your approaches and see what happens. He has putted well in 5 out of his last 6. He's been a positive putter. The big thing for me, some of these guys at 6,100 are losers. Okay. They are never going to win. They never finish inside the top 5. They get into the tour championship because they finish T32 every single week. Seamus Power, like that stuff. Right. Lucas Glover actually wins golf tour. Lucas Glover actually finishes top 5 in PGA Tour events, like he has at both the Sanderson Farms and the Black Desert Championship, where he finished 3rd both this fall. Played well at the Sony Open, missed the cut at the American Express. I don't really care about that. Like Lucas Glover's upside laps these other guys in this field or in this part of the field.
In this part, right? I think there's some truth to that. It's the good news is the putter.
Patrick Rodgers has been on tour forever. Can't win.
Yeah, he could in college.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, the putter, the Glover's still using the broomstick, and he's using it effectively.
Yeah, it's effective. And could we see another, record-setting ball striking performance from him like we did in Utah? Yeah.
Flusher.
Yeah. He's a flusher. So I don't hate that one bit. Not one bit.
So now you've got Lee Hodges, Lucas Glover, Scottie Scheffler, Tommy Fleetwood, and you figure out the rest.
Yeah, I can't do I can't help you anymore.
Okay, is there any way? I at least have one more.
Yeah. I think Mark Hubbard is playable potentially.
6,700.
He's 6,700. It's been fine. I think He's not hurt by the distance out here. I think he's certainly playable. I like what he's done. Tied 68th last week at the Farmers, but tied 12th at the American Express, 21st at the Sony. Back in Bermuda, tied 3rd. I think it could be a good golf course for him.
Last 5 trips to this event. Missed cut, 55th, 33rd, 20th, 4th. Do you see where I'm going with this?
Yes.
It has to be something inside the top 3.
That is basically a guarantee. Do they do top 3 tomorrow on the grid? Could we get a Mark Hubbard top 3?
Yeah, we'll just take his top 5 number and we'll like
double
do one. Yeah, like 1.7 or something like that. Yeah,
maybe we just do top 5.
Yeah, that's even more of a lock.
So I like that. All right,
go ahead. I know you want to say it.
Josh, can you say it for me?
I know what it is.
Ricky Fowler.
There it is.
Yeah, he gets it. I think he's playable. I don't love it, but he's playable.
Stinks, Greg.
Stinks?
He doesn't stink. He's on the tour. None of these guys stink, but he is the opposite of Captain Keegan. He is like the softest guy on the PGA Tour.
I know.
And I love him. And he's always been very nice to me. And I hope he wins. And I hope he wins majors. But it just hurts. It hurts.
We're talking 6K range here.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, how many of these guys are tough as nails?
Okay. He hasn't missed the cut since the fall, right? So he hasn't played a ton. So T16 at the Sanderson, T23 at Shriners, 4th at the Zozo. That is splendid. All of that is splendid. Then a T21 at the American Express. Fine. Okay. He's playing better golf than he has in a while.
Yes.
His history here is not great.
No, he's 6,900 and he's the, fourth guy, third or fourth guy we've mentioned in this range.
Yeah. This
is where we're at. Okay. I'm going to play Lee Hodges over him, who's at 6,200.
I think you probably should. Sam Stevens was the only other one. So, it's tough to get these guys that, pop up and finish well the week before to try to do that again.
Yeah.
He was great last week from tee to green, which is nice. And he's been good from tee to green in 4 out of his last 5. Not nearly as good as what we saw at the Farmers, but he doesn't really have to be. Like if I can get another week, like, if he hits it like he did at Sony, I'll take my chances that, in his 2 California weeks of putting, he's gained strokes putting. Like I'll just take my chances there. So I don't need him to do what he did at the Farmers. I just need him to be better putting than he was in Hawaii or at the RSM.
Yeah, I think that's fair. If you're happy with the 23rd,
thrilled,
right? Which is partly why I think Ricky could give you that too.
Yeah,
I think Ricky could give you that. The problem with Ricky is he might be tied 2nd after the first round.
Oh,
and give you a tied 23rd.
Definitely will be. He'll definitely be tied 2nd after the first round.
Ricky Fowler.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So I don't know. You got Ben Griffin down here. Farmers didn't go great, but he's playing great. Otherwise, he's at 66. You just don't like him.
No, it's just, you know what? I like him. I just I don't know when he's going to play well.
Yeah. I whenever I go against him in a matchup,
that's when he plays well.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, Greg. Well, listen, we're coming up on it. I got to get you out of here so that you can watch TGL, which starts in 3 minutes. So I got to get you over to see Tiger and Rory. But any final thoughts for the Pebble Beach this week?
Well, no, I'm really looking forward to it. I think it's going to be great. As for TGL tonight, it's too bad Patrick isn't going to be able to get a bet in on this because he's been carrying us with his TGL bets, but it's got to be Boston Commons.
If Boston Common doesn't win by whatever the record is, I'll be shocked.
Yeah. I mean, why Kevin Kisner's playing?
Yeah. Kevin Kisner is by far the worst player. I hope he plays better. If he does not, they have to cut him if he doesn't play well this week. They have to just, if there's any integrity of the league, they have to cut him.
It can't be this can't be a let's celebrate bad shots
No.
to have moments. That's
Right.
That's not what we need.
Okay. Tuesday, mega preview. And then we are back to the Friday, Sunday round recap schedule for this week's Pebble Beach Pro-Am. Big thank you. Producer Josh does all the hard work behind the scenes. Greg DuCharme, you can get him at The Real GFD, and you can find me at Rick Run Good. This has been The First Cut. We'll catch you next time.